Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from Breitbart. It was published on October 26th and is written by Catherine Rodriguez. Pentagon recommends requiring women to sign up for draft. And I say it's about damn time. Because part of the reason why men got the right to vote is they agreed that they could have their sorry asses forced into conscription and go off and fight for this country. That's a requirement for a man to have. See, when feminists, the third wave feminists and that try to say, oh, well, the right to vote, men had the right to vote. Like we just had the right to vote and there was no strings attached. No, there were strings attached. Okay. Anyone who's a guy who's, of voting age, who turned 18 until, 36, knows. Okay. That there are strings attached. People who've lived past that know there are strings attached that are men. Why? Because we all had to sign up for Selective Service and say, yeah, we'll go off to war if this country tells us we have to go off to war in order to get our right to vote. Women, on the other hand, got it scot-free. And what gets me is women did have the right to vote before the 19th Amendment. I mean, there were plenty of states where that was allowed. And the thing is, third wave feminists, intersectional feminists talk about equality and oppression. Well, guess what? If some sorry ass appearing white guy, because I'm a mutt, and I have quote unquote minority ethnicities, but because you're going to look at me and go, you're a white male. Okay, if I can be conscripted and forced to go off to fight for my damn country, or have to contribute, say whether or not it's the front lines or I'm doing logistics or whatever, and have to be forced to go and become part of the military, women should have the same exact standards placed upon them if they want the right to vote. That's how I see it, plain and simple. Equality. I'm an egalitarian. I'm not saying they have to fight in, front lines, but if you're going to draft men, you should be able to draft women. Plain and simple. And I'm not even talking about, for the fact of just what they're saying here, to boost the military enrollment. I'm saying it's what's fair. And the irony is I'm sure feminists are going to be the ones screaming the loudest about how this is somehow the patriarchy trying to oppress women. Because you're trying to say that it's the patriarchy trying to say women are going to have to go off and fight and die for their country. Watch, that'll be their argument for this, because fucking for heaven forbid they get equality. Actual, factual, true equality. The good with the bad. But mark my words, that's what's probably going to happen. Is you're going to hear feminists going, patriarchy, oppression, going to send us off to die at war. Watch. But let's get into this article here. The Pentagon recommended that women be required to register for the draft to boost military enrollment, according to a Defense Department report addressed to Congress. And as I said with the title, good. The report obtained by the Washington Times said the Selective Service system would increase enrollment by 11 million people if the U.S. required women to sign up for the draft. Good. Our military, thanks to Baby Bush, thanks to Obama, even thanks to Clinton, because with his cuts and everything else, since Clinton, actually, I should say, our military keeps getting eviscerated and beat down. I mean, we have, we quote unquote have state-of-the-art equipment, but yet when it comes to, say, aircraft, a lot of them are not flight worthy. That's a sad prospect. And part of that is because our military has become so expensive to run, and you've got people cutting the military, but we need to keep the military at the levels that we have, so something's got to give. And things need to change, and we now have more money going to the military. We're probably going to get all that situation with our equipment straightened out. And why not add to the factor having women have the same exact chance of getting called up and said, yeah, and told, yeah, you got to go out and do this. You're part of the military now. It appears that, for the most part, expanding registration for the draft to include women would enhance further the benefits presently associated with the Selective Service system, the report said. Yeah, I agree totally. Because you take and you now have increased your pool, okay, of people that you can bring in a time of war. A good example, all right? It's still in rerun today. I'm sure there are people in the millennial generation and the now most conservative generation coming up since, like, the, God. Definitely in my lifetime, we'll have to say probably a century. They've probably seen MASH. Now, there are a lot of women doctors. They can't contribute in war by, you know, working at a mobile army hospital? Telling me they can't contribute? Be drafted and serve their country in that way? I mean, I'm not saying combat roles, but I'm saying there are a lot of roles that need to be filled, and this would be a way of doing it. And it's fair. It's about equality. Only male citizens and immigrants between the ages of 18 and 25 are currently required to sign up for the draft, according to the Selective Service System website. That should read, only males that are citizens or immigrants. Because there's no women that have to sign up. The report noted that Selective Service System receives an additional 2 million signups per year under the current law. Well, yeah, because if you come to this country, this is another thing on that whole thing of with like immigration. One of the conditions to come here, okay, on a green card, to be a citizen, whatever, legally, is to sign up as a male, is to sign up for Selective Service. Now you have all these illegals, on the other hand, who, how do I put this? Basically go, hey, fuck USA, I ain't signing up for that shit. Okay? And they're not. But what's messed up, the ones that are, what are they doing? They're getting training that they're then giving their services after the fact of getting out with this training to train cartels and gangs and that's a really scary proposition. So what we need to do is the people that are coming, you know, those are the ones that are actually going in the military, I should say. The ones that, you know, are going the legit way. You have a lot of illegals that are doing that. And they're taking the training, and they're training the cartels, and they're training, you know, like I said, besides them, gangs, like MS-13. MS-13 had a lot of people go into the United States military, and then they turned around and spread that training throughout the gang. And those are the only illegals we seem to have wanting to join the military. They're the only ones that aren't going, fuck you, and it's because they're using us to learn a skill that they can then market themselves with. Well, I guess that's no different than the whole mercenary thing that you had with former U.S. military going into third world countries and things like that, being paid to be soldiers. No different than what we have today with like Blackwater and all that and that type of shit. So, yeah. The report noted that Selective Services... Sorry, I already read that. The Pentagon has tried to integrate more women into the military in recent years. Yeah, and I'm all for that. Former Obama Defense Secretary Ash Carter announced in 2015 that the military would allow women to serve in combat roles. Now, and I just have to say this. There are certain combat roles that I don't think are suited for women. Okay? And you can call me a misogynist. You can call me whatever the hell you want for that. But let me explain why. depending, well, regardless, you're going to have shitty type of people that would do this. But especially on the note of, say, fighting a war, one culture, like, say, the West, fighting the whole Islamic, terrorist, extremist, Muslim culture. Okay? When you have all the stuff that's going on, say in Europe with the immigrant rape situation that's created Sweden as the rape capital of Europe, when you go up to fight against people like that, a woman on the front lines, alright, when they'll fuck goats, camels, each other, children, it don't matter, they're going to go after that woman first. And I don't think that we should be putting women in the type of situation where if their position gets overrun, they're going to have a fucking train run on them by a bunch of camel-humping terrorists. Okay, because you can literally, they've talked about this, how they've had UAV and satellite surveillance of them fucking each other and goats and other livestock and, stuff like that, like caught on camera out in the open. If they'll do that, just imagine what they would do to a female soldier. And no woman should be put through that. All right? But, say, a combat pilot, I got no problems with, say, a woman in as a combat pilot. I've got no problems as a woman in a tank. I got no problems. All right? It's the infantry ground pounding stuff where my limit is. And it's because those positions can easily be overrun, and now you've got a female soldier who's going to be treated far worse than a male soldier. And that's my reason behind it. So if you want to call me a misogynist for wanting to look out for a woman's virtue, so fucking be it. Don't care. Carter's announcement raised the question of whether women should be required to register for the draft in future years. And I remember that. And even before that, I was like, yeah, let them. And I used to piss off my feminist teachers. I mean, I'm in my early 40s. I'm 42. So, picture a kid in junior high, high school. Picture a young CL. We'll call myself. That's probably with my ID, just CL, Constitutional Libertarian. Just picture a young CL. Aggravating feminist teachers by going, but why shouldn't women? I mean, I did this with a feminist history teacher. I was like, but why shouldn't women be drafted? Well, I'm like, but you're a feminist. I said, because I'm like, well, why shouldn't women be held up to the same standard as men, where they can be drafted, and conscripted to serve the country? I said, because you want equality. To me, that's equality. And she like, well, that's not. Women shouldn't be able to go off and fight. I said, but wait a minute, you want equality. And yeah, let's just say this particular teacher and I didn't get along well. Because it's a very valid point. And like I said, Mark, and this is from my experience over the years, okay, of dealing with feminists. Like her, they're going to cry. I know. These feminists are going to be crying foul with this shit. Going, oh, no, draft. That ain't right. That ain't fair. We should be able to choose to fight in combat roles. We should be able to choose to sign up for the military. But being forced, that's not right or fair. They're going to do it. Every feminist, when this comes up in a discussion, tries to say that that's not right or fair. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too, unless you're a feminist. At least it seems that way. The federal government has never required women to register for Selective Service in the Selective Service Act's 100-year history. Congress would have to amend the current law before they would be required to sign up. Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act in 2016, which called for a yearly review of the draft system, but stopped short of requiring women to register for Selective Service. Well, they should have required them to register for Selective Service. Because it's what is equal, what is fair. And feminists, they want that equality. They want that fair. You know, we're oppressed. We don't have all the rights that men do. Oh, okay. Well, this is one actual right where you're full of shit on pretty much everything else. This is one actual right that you really don't have, which is being forced to go off and become part of the military, okay, during a time of war and risk your life and possibly die for your right to vote. Men, on the other hand, have that requirement. So, all I gotta say is, as feminists, I really hope that you have to be signed up for Selective Service in order to vote. Let's see how many of you are willing to say, I'm being oppressed because I have to decide that I'm going to be forced to go off and die for the country just so I can vote. That's taking away my rights. This is the type of shit you're going to do. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope this gets traction. It's about damn time. A lot of other countries require it. Actually, they require mandatory service, not selective. So, let's watch as the feminists lose their shit over this one. Anyways, I think I've gone into this well enough here, so I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.